From St. Joseph, Missouri, Mutual presents the Air Force Hour. Climb aboard the Air Force Hour and prepare to take off in song. Switch on. Switch on. Clear left. Clear left. Clear left. Clear right. Clear right. All ready for power instructions. Announcing your crew for the Air Force Hour, the all-airman show of the Department of Defense. Lieutenant Colonel George S. Howard conducting the United States Air Force Band. Baritone soloist Sergeant Glenn Darwin. The singing sergeants under the direction of Warrant Officer Robert Landers, and your reporter, Major Wes McFarren. And I'm your navigator, Lieutenant Cass Fieldsky, advising you to fasten safety belts and prepare to take off.
So take off on your Air Force Hour.
And now here is the band supplying tonight's takeoff hour with the spirited march, Triumph of Old Glory. There's a notation by the next entry in tonight's Air Force Hour log that reads, an original composition by our conductor, Lieutenant Colonel George S. Howard. In tribute to the people of the state of Missouri, our crew chief, Sergeant Glenn Darwin, sings, My Missouri.
From north to south, the Midwest is the heart. In peace or war, the great Midwest has always done its part. Of all the states of our vast land, Missouri is the core. My heart is in Missouri to remain forever. From her heart flows friendship to all. In her deep, rich soil and her people is the strength that has answered its call. From the sturdy born of hardship comes the warmth of the friend always true. Missouri, my Missouri, she's a soul of the red, white, and blue. The bold and brave who pioneered were hardy folks indeed. From those who blaze a trail we spring, they humbly laid the seed that flourished into our great state that we all love today. Missouri means so much to me. There's more I'd like to say. My Missouri, my Missouri, from her heart flows friendship to all. In her deep, rich soil and her people is a strength that has answered its call. From the sturdy bone of hardship comes the warmth of a friend always true. My Missouri, my Missouri, she's a soul of the red, white, and blue.
Music now from the pen of one of America's greatest composers, Stephen Foster. The singing sergeants, Warrant Officer Robert Landers directing, step front and center to sing what was probably the last of the great Foster songs, Old Black Joe.
Gone are the days when my heart was young and gay. Gone are my friends from the cotton fields away. Gone from the earth to a better land I know. I hear the gentle voices calling. Old Black Joe, I'm coming. I'm coming, for my head is bending low. I hear the gentle voices calling. Old Black Time on your Air Force tower. Time to call into the tower. Calling tower.
This is Major Wes McFerrin. If you were in Texas, as I was recently, and tuned in your shortwave radio on the right frequency, you might hear some very, very strange melodies coming from the skies of that Lone Star State near San Antonio, home of the historic Alamo. No, you wouldn't be picking up Paris. Your transmitting station would be much closer than that. As a matter of fact, probably in one of those big Texas clouds directly overhead, where some lusty young French air cadet from Randolph Air Force Base, with his radio switch inadvertently turned on, is happily greeting the morning sun. What are French cadets doing at Randolph? They're the first contingent of the some 1,300 foreign military personnel who will be training in this country by the end of June under the Mutual Defense Assistance Program. That program designed to bolster the defenses of the North Atlantic Treaty Nations. There are 75 of these cadets, bright-eyed, eager, and fresh from their beloved France for the first time. Almost none of them speaking any but their own tongue. Now, this posed quite a problem for our instructors at Randolph, almost none of whom spoke any but English, all of which led to some very fast French classes for the majors, captains, and lieutenants of the faculty staff. To their own surprise, by the time their young French charges arrived a month ago, the instructors were ready. Now, Americans, being nomads at heart, are pretty much at home after a while almost anywhere they go. But a Frenchman out of France, and especially a young Frenchman, in our country, he finds many things strange to him, some not so easy to become accustomed to. For example, their first meal at Randolph was quite a shock to the ruddy-cheeked young Gaelics. No wine. The equivalent to an American would be no coffee at his table. However, they eventually became used to and finally very fond of an excellent substitute, milk. The GI haircut, to which all cadets must submit, also caused considerable concern among these guests from France, where the closer the hair is cropped, well, where they just don't like short haircuts. But crew cuts, like all other dissimilarities, were well on the way toward being resolved by the time the young cadets began their pre-flight training in the classrooms at Randolph. And by this past midweek, Colonel John G. Fowler, commanding officer of the base, was able to report.
In spite of language difficulties, the integration of the French students into the basic pilot training program here at Randolph Air Force Base is progressing rapidly and smoothly. Their willingness to learn from their American instructors is proving greatly instrumental in accelerating the French training project.
Integration of operational and training methods is one of the aims of the French cadet program at Randolph Air Force Base, a goal toward which ever more progress is made with each passing day. Another less formal, though no less important, amalgamation is the growing oneness between the American and French cadets as they work, play, and eat together.
I just can't make it go.
Potatoes, please. Yes. Potatoes in French are called pommes de terre.
Pomme de terre?
No, pommes de terre.
Pomme de terre.
I see. Bill, what do they call gravy in French? Oh, I think that's called sauce. Well, in English, such as tomato sauce is called tomato ketchup.
The French air cadets at Randolph Air Force Base are taking things well in stride, assimilating not only our theories on training, but also a certain amount of local ideology, as I discovered in a hallway discussion among a group of them.
In America. Oh, no, there are 48 states.
Yes, of course, 48.
No, what do you think about you? Oh, no, my American friend, Cadet Hausman, who is from Dallas in Texas, has said me that America is composed mainly of one state, Texas, and maybe one or two other states, so it cannot be 48.
And today in Texas, should you tune in your shortwave radio on an Air Force frequency, this in a sort of Texanized French accent is what you might well hear.
The eyes of Texas are upon you all the livelong day. The eyes of Texas are upon you. You cannot get away.
And that's how it is with the French Air Cadet Training Program at Randolph Air Force Base in Texas. This is Major Wes McFerrin returning you to the Air Force Hour in St. Joseph, Missouri.
We continue the Air Force Hour from St. Joseph, Missouri. St. Joseph can boast, among other things, the birthplace of one of America's great band leaders and composers, Arthur Pryor. Now, here is the Air Force Band in one of Pryor's better-known tunes, the novelty, Whistler and His Dog. Every nation has a page of history it can call its own, a bit of color from the past that becomes a part of the national idiom. Here in America, we are justly proud of our heritage of pioneering, the great westward movement that has become a favorite theme of America's composers. Listen now as the Air Force Band takes us on a musical tour of the wide open spaces. From out of the prairies and the grasslands has come a figure that is a legend in America, the cowboy. His life in the limitless outdoors has inspired many a song of solitude, such as the tranquil Cowboy Serenade.
While I'm smoking my last cigarette, sing that cowboy song I never will forget. Yippee-ki-yi, the sun's almost set, and I'm smoking my last cigarette through the sagebrush where
dear. Yippee-ki-yay, the sun's almost set, and I'm smoking my last cigarette. Come on, old fate, this time we're traveling alone. Gonna meet her where the good green pastures are grown. So while twilight and purple hills fade, from a campfire comes that cowboy serenade. Yippee-ki-yay, the sun's almost set, and I'm smoking my last cigarette. While I'm smoking my last cigarette.
After the trails were blazed across America, great numbers of homesteaders rushed westward to find new homes in the rich land that was theirs for the claiming. The Indian Trail soon became roads under the weight of thousands of wagon wheels. The Air Force Hour. Our course is a northeasterly one now as we take up a heading for the home field in the completion of another mission. As our crewmen return to their stations and preparations are made to land, Colonel Howard and the band climax tonight's Air Force Hour with the Fire Dance. From St. Joseph, Missouri, the Department of Defense has presented the Air Force Hour, featuring the United States Air Force Band, Lieutenant Colonel George S. Howard, conductor, and the Singing Sergeants under the direction of Warrant Officer Robert Landers. Musical arrangements by Sergeant Fred Kepner. The Air Force Hour is produced, written, and directed by Captain Mark D. Miranda, assisted by Warrant Officer John Yoselitis, and is heard overseas through the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is your Air Force navigator, Lieutenant Cass Bielski, speaking.